Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The night was deep and silent as I pulled into our driveway, the dashboard clock glowing 2:17 a.m. Vanessa's latest girls' night out had stretched long into the early hours, but what was new? She was always the last to leave any party. I loved that about her, her zest for life, her boundless energy. Or at least, I used to. Tonight, however, instead of heading straight inside, I decided to tidy up the car, a peace offering for using it all day for my errands. As I rummaged through the glove compartment to store the parking tickets I'd accumulated from my downtown stops, a crumpled piece of paper fell out, landing between my feet. Unfolding it revealed 2 movie tickets for last night's late show, a movie I hadn't seen, at a theater I rarely visited. My brow furrowed in confusion as I turned the tickets over in my hand, feeling a cold seed of doubt plant itself in my stomach. But there was more, a receipt tucked beneath the passenger seat from Le Marais, a new French bistro in town that Vanessa had mentioned wanting to try. The time stamp showed dinner just before the movie, dinner for 2. Not with me. Was Vanessa being unfaithful? The question pounded in my head with every throb of my aching heart. The silence of the night seemed to mock me, the cool breeze whispering betrayals. Determined for answers, I found myself installing a GPS tracker on her car the very next morning. It was easy, almost too easy, as if fate was guiding my hands. With every wire I connected, the betrayal sunk deeper. Days passed, each one a silent agony of waiting and watching. The GPS logs showed her regular visits to the office, to her friend Julia's house, and then, there. A little motel on the outskirts of town I'd never heard her mention. The pieces clicked together, a mosaic of deception. The confirmation came through a notification on my phone while I was setting up for a photo shoot, one quiet afternoon. The GPS alerted me to the car parked at that same motel again. My hands trembled as I viewed the live location, the digital map on my screen a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. Rage consumed me, a burning, blinding fury. I stormed through the rest of the day, my mind a whirlwind of revenge plans. I could confront her, expose her, ruin her, so many thoughts, each darker than the last. That evening, as she returned home, humming a tune, I couldn't contain it anymore. "How was Julia's?" I asked, my voice calm but my hands clenched at my sides. "Fun. We watched movies all day," she replied, a flicker of something passing over her face when she saw my expression. "Is that so? Did Julia's place move to Le Marais and then to a motel on the outskirts of town?" I watched her face crumble, the truth hitting her as hard as it had hit me. The conversation that followed was a blur of tears, accusations, and confessions. Vanessa's apologies and explanations fell on deaf ears. My decision was made. We divorced swiftly, our love and trust irreparably shattered. Our paths parted, leaving me alone with the remnants of a marriage I once cherished. As I sat in the silent void of our now empty house, I realized revenge hadn't brought peace, only a hollow victory. In the weeks that followed the divorce, the empty echoes of our once lively home seemed to mock me. My heart was a battleground of anger and sorrow, and every corner of the house reminded me of Vanessa. I needed closure, something to sever the ties that tethered my tormented thoughts to her. That's when the idea struck, a confrontation, not with Vanessa, but with him, the other man. Armed with the address I'd gleaned from the GPS logs, I drove to the motel on the outskirts of town. My hands gripped the steering wheel with determined fury as the familiar landscape blurred past. The afternoon sun glared down, mirroring the heat of my rage. Pulling into the motel parking lot, I spotted the familiar silver of Vanessa's car. They were here, together, right now. My pulse raced as I parked next to her car, taking a deep breath to steel myself for what was to come. I approached their room, my footsteps heavy with each crunch of gravel underfoot. Standing before the door, I hesitated. This was it, the moment of truth. I raised my hand and knocked sharply, the sound echoing in the silent air. A few tense seconds passed before the door swung open, revealing a man in his mid-30s, his surprise evident. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice cautious. "You already have," I said, stepping into the threshold, my voice cold. "You've helped ruin my marriage." The color drained from his face as he recognized the accusation. "Look, I think you should leave." "No," I cut him off, stepping closer. "We're going to talk. Now." He hesitated, then nodded, stepping aside to let me in. The room was small, dimly lit, the air thick with tension. Vanessa wasn't in sight, likely out at the moment, which made things easier. "Who are you?" I demanded, my eyes locked on his. I'm Eric," he stumbled over his words. "Look, I didn't know she was married at first." "Lies." My voice rose, sharp and cutting. "You knew, everyone knows. She wears her ring, proudly." Eric's eyes shifted, guilt written across his face. "Okay, I knew," he admitted, his voice dropping. "But it wasn't like that at first. We were just friends and then you weren't." My statement was a blunt knife, slicing through the pretenses. "How long?" 6 months, he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. I felt a pang in my chest, but my anger was too strong to allow any more hurt. "Why?" I asked, the question simple yet loaded with the weight of my shattered trust. Eric sighed, running his hands through his hair. "I don't know. It wasn't planned. It just happened." "Just happened," I repeated mockingly. "You destroyed my life because something just happened." He was silent, the remorse on his face doing little to quell the storm within me. I looked around the room, every detail a testament to their betrayal. My gaze fell on a photograph of Vanessa and Eric on the nightstand, a painful stab. "You're going to end it," I said firmly, my resolve hardening. "Today. If not for me, do it for whatever shred of decency you might still have." Eric nodded slowly, his defeat evident. "I will. I promise." I didn't wait for more lies. Turning on my heel, I left the room, the door closing with a finality that echoed in my heart. The drive home was a blur, my mind reeling from the encounter. The confrontation had brought some satisfaction, a step towards reclaiming my dignity, but the road to recovery was long and uncertain. As I lay in bed that night, the silence of the house was a bitter reminder of the solitude that awaited me. Yet, amidst the ruins of my past life, a determination grew, a resolve to rebuild, to find peace beyond the shadows of betrayal. The following weeks were a haze of emotion and paperwork as the final threads of my marriage to Vanessa were legally severed. Despite the resolution with Eric, my thirst for a deeper retribution gnawed at me. It wasn't just about hurting Vanessa or Eric, it was about regaining a sense of control, something that the betrayal had stripped away. One chilly morning, as I sipped my coffee, a plan began to form, a plan not just of personal revenge but of public exposure. If Vanessa and Eric felt no shame in their actions, perhaps the court of public opinion would deliver the justice my heart craved. I started by reaching out to Julia, Vanessa's supposed alibi and closest friend. If anyone knew the depths of Vanessa's deceit, it would be her. I dialed Julia's number with trembling hands, the phone ringing 3 times before she answered. "Hello?" Her voice was wary, perhaps expecting this call. "Julia, it's me," I said, cutting to the chase. "I know about Vanessa and Eric. And I think you do too." There was a pause, heavy with hesitation. I don't know what you mean." "Julia, please," I pressed, softer now. "I'm not calling to make things worse. I just need the truth. Did you know?" The line was silent for a moment longer, then a sigh. Yes, I knew, she admitted, her voice resigned. Did you help her? My question was direct, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. I covered for her a few times, Julia confessed. I'm sorry. I thought I was helping a friend, but I see now I was part of something that caused you so much pain. Her admission sparked an idea. Julia, I want to expose them, not to hurt them, necessarily, but to reveal the truth. Will you help me? Another pause, then, yes. I owe you that much. What do you need? I outlined my plan, a gathering of our mutual friends where the truth would be revealed, not with malice, but with irrefutable evidence. Julia agreed to help set the stage, her own sense of guilt propelling her cooperation. Days later, the stage was set. A local community center was booked under the pretense of a reconciliation party, inviting all who knew Vanessa and me, including Eric. The room filled quickly, the air tight with anticipation and whispered speculation. As Vanessa and Eric arrived, confusion etched across their faces, I took the stage, a projector ready behind me. The crowd hushed, every eye on me. Thank you all for coming, I began, my voice steady despite the storm inside. Today, I want to share a story, our story, mine and Vanessa's, but with truths that have been hidden until now. I clicked the remote, and the screen lit up with emails, texts, and photos, proof of the affair, all laid bare. Vanessa's face drained of color, her eyes darting around the room in panic. Why? She whispered audibly, her betrayal now public. To show that actions have consequences, I replied, my voice carrying across the room. I loved you, Vanessa. But today, this chapter ends. The room erupted into murmurs as I stepped down, the weight of months lifting slightly from my shoulders. Julia approached, her expression one of mixed sorrow and relief. You did it, she said, her voice low. I did, I confirmed, feeling neither victory nor defeat, just a resignation that it was over. As people began to disperse, some with shakes of their heads and others with looks of sympathy towards me, I realized that the pain might linger, but now, at least, there was nothing left to hide. Walking out into the cooling air of the late afternoon, I felt the first stir of what might one day grow into peace. After the public revelation, the fallout was immediate and intense. Vanessa's social circle, once a tight-knit group, splintered as friends took sides. Eric, too, faced consequences, his reputation tarnished among mutual acquaintances and in his professional life. But for me, these social repercussions weren't enough. The wound they had inflicted demanded a deeper retribution, one that matched the scale of their betrayal. Over the next few weeks, I plotted my final act of vengeance. It needed to be precise, something that wouldn't just momentarily shock them but would leave a lasting impact. I decided to strike at what Vanessa and Eric held dearest, their careers. Vanessa had always been proud of her role at a local marketing firm, a position she climbed to with determination. Eric, similarly, was a partner at a real estate agency, his face plastered on billboards around town. Both their careers were built on reputations of trust and integrity, something I planned to dismantle. I started with Vanessa. Under the guise of an anonymous tip, I sent a meticulously crafted package to her firm's corporate office, containing detailed records of her using company time and resources for her liaisons with Eric. Alongside this, I included suggestions of embezzlement, fabricated, yet convincing evidence of financial discrepancies that only someone in her position could execute. For Eric, I used a different tactic. I knew he had recently brokered a large deal that was crucial for his agency's quarterly earnings. Through anonymous emails and well-placed phone calls, I sowed doubt about the legality of the transaction, hinting at undisclosed conflicts of interest and potential bribery. As my plans unfolded, I watched from a distance. Within days, Vanessa was suspended pending an investigation. The rumors, fueled by the details I had provided, made her position untenable. Eric, too, faced scrutiny as auditors descended on his agency, dissecting the deal he had so proudly secured. But the final blow was yet to come. I arranged for both Vanessa and Eric to meet me at a secluded cafe, under the pretense of discussing an amicable resolution to our conflicts. They arrived together, cautious but hopeful that I might finally offer forgiveness. As they sat, I greeted them coldly. "Thank you for coming," I began, my voice devoid of warmth. "I wanted to see you both, one last time, to explain why I did what I did." Vanessa looked weary, her eyes searching mine for a sign of the old warmth. "Can we move past this? Start over?" she asked, a tremble in her voice. "No," I said flatly. "This is not a beginning, but an end. You see, your careers are now in ruins, much like how you left my heart. I wanted you to feel a fraction of the pain I felt." Eric's face hardened, his previous remorse turning to anger. "You've destroyed everything I worked for," he said, his voice low. "I did," I acknowledged. "And I'd do it again." My revenge wasn't just about retribution, it was about justice. For every secret meeting, every lie, every moment I spent doubting myself. They sat, stunned, as I stood up. "This is where our paths end," I declared, my tone final. "I hope the memory of what you've lost haunts you as much as your betrayal has haunted me." With that, I left them sitting in the dim light of the cafe, their faces a canvas of shock and despair. As I walked away, the cold satisfaction of my revenge settled within me. I had lost much, but I had regained my dignity and control. The road ahead would be lonely, but it was a path I accepted, stepping into a future unburdened by the weight of the past. As the cafe door closed behind me, sealing them in their new reality, a sense of finality washed over me. The chapter of Vanessa and Eric was closed, forever etched as a cautionary tale of betrayal and the ruthless justice that followed.